Registrar.
Registrars receive I wish to confirm that the quorum has been formed for this meeting to proceed.
Thank you very much. May we call on the Mr. Gift from the Civic Center to give us a safety briefing.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gift Ebelu. I'm the safety officer of the Civic Center. I want to welcome you to the Civic Center. And you are presently on the first floor, the panoramic view hall. And the hall is rigged with fire alarm system, emergency alarm systems. So it means that when you hear the sound of the alarm, you stand up quietly, walk fast through any of the exit points. We have one here, we have another one over there. Please do not run. When you're walking, please do not run. You're advised to walk fast, do not run. Because running might get you, to fall or trip or sleep because the floor might be too slippery for you. So when you exit any of the exit points, we have the elevators and the stairs. We advise you use the stairs. Do not use the elevator because in any emergency situation, it is not advisable to use the elevator because it might go off and get you trapped in. So you use the stairways. So when you're descending the stairs, please do not run on the stairs because it might also fall or trip. You can use the rails to balance yourself. So when you go out, you walk down to the car park. That's where we have the assembly point for further instructions and the head count. Now, if you want to make use of the toilet, we'll have the toilet on the floor here, first floor here and the ground floor. First floor here, when you exit this point here, the entrance, you take your left. On the ground floor, you walk straight. Now, when you're coming in from the toilet, when you're coming back from the toilet into the hall, please, there is a sanitizer by the entrance. You make use of it, please. Make use of the sanitizer. It's very important. Then we are in the era of pandemic. Please, what's it called? The cover, the mask, is not meant for our jaws. It's meant to cover our nose and mouth. Please, make sure those areas are covered. And when you want to let in some fresh air, you can just drag it forward and breathe in and cover it back. Please, if you want to sneeze, cough, or even yourself, please do not remove your mask. It's very important. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Gift. Now that we have the confirmation of the registrar that the quorum has been formed, may I ask Mr. Boniface Okezie to give us opening prayers, please.
Shall we pray? In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty and everlasting King, we praise you, who made it possible for us to gather this morning to have this meeting to discuss the affair of Adevo PLC. Lord, we thank you for each directors. Thank you for the management, the workforce, and the shareholders, those present and those who are watching virtual this meeting, who are not able to be here as a result of the pandemic. Lord, help each and every one keep us safe, keep us alive. Be able to overcome this pandemic. Come this time next year, we should all gather in full house to daily bread and celebrate the company. This I may we pray through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boniface. Shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, here present, and those joining us online, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to the 41st Annual General Meeting of our company. Please be informed that due to the safety challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the government's directive on the restriction of large gatherings, the company has obtained the approval of the Corporate Affairs Commission to hold this meeting by proxy. This meeting is being streamed live to our shareholders, regulators, and observers not physically present. We have the confirmation of the registrars that the meeting has been duly convened and properly constituted, and we have a proper quorum as required by the company's articles of association. I now declare the meeting open. May I introduce my colleagues here with me today. To my extreme left is Mr. Mohammed Aminu Umar. Next to him are Mr. Moshood Olajide, the CFO. Mr. Olumide Adeosun, CEO. To my extreme right is Mr. Olushola Adeyo.
The link was sent to staff and the ones.
And next to him is Mrs. Aniola Durosimieti. And to my immediate right is Mr. Oladende Nelson Cole, the acting company secretary. Finally, my humble self, Abdulwasiu Showami, the chairman. May I also introduce the representatives of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Mr. Godstime Iwenehai and Mr. Ibrahim Abu. That's Mr. Ibrahim Abu is from the Nigerian Security Exchange. And the Corporate Affairs Commission's, the SEC. The representative of our external auditors are Mr. Olufemi Abegunde and Ayode Jojo. And of course, the registrars, Mr. Okunko, being represented here. And the representatives of the statutory, the shareholders on the Statutory Audit Committee, Mr. Job Omugara, Mrs. Adebisi Bakare, and Mr. Safiu Okunwola. The register of directors' holdings and the attendance of board meetings is available for inspection in compliance with Section 275, subsection 5 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2004. To facilitate the smooth conduct of our meeting, I would like to explain briefly that you will have an opportunity to second each resolution put to the meeting. Thereafter, I must emphasize that comments will be invited on that resolution only before the vote on it is taken. I will therefore request that those who wish to speak should indicate by raising their hands. Please, when called upon to speak, state your names clearly before you make your comment. One of our ushers will hand you a microphone for your comment as advised by the health officials. We are enjoined to respect COVID protocols. Shareholders who wish who is to ask questions are encouraged to make it brief to give others the opportunity to ask their own questions. I call upon the acting company secretary to read the notice of the year 2019 AGM convening this meeting.
The chairman of the board of directors of Andover PLC. My name is Patrick Ajudo. Mr. Chairman, much as we appreciate the work of the company secretary, you have done a very great work. I'm going to make an amendment to the notice of meeting before it reads. That's on page 13. Mr. Chairman, this, with permission of my leader, Sanwo-Osu, and my colleague here, I would like to touch on C, Special Resolution C, and it will really assist us more if we rephrase it to be that the directors are hereby empowered to effect the above changes and renumbered the articles accordingly. Because when you have a special resolutions you have itemized, you need to conclude it by granting the powers to the director to effect those changes and renumbers the articles of associations accordingly. So I propose, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much for your observation. Do we have anybody to second?
Chairman, I write to second the motion as moved by my brother. Okay, second the motion.
Thank you very much. The motion is taken, and it will be amended accordingly.
Very well taken, but it shouldn't be an article and memorandum issue, that last aspect, authorizing the directors to effect that should not be part of the article and memorandum. Do you understand me, sir?
Well noted.
Good.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
All other items are okay.
Company Secretary, please.
Board of Directors, distinguished shareholders, I will now take the notice of meeting. Notice of 41st Annual General Meeting. Notice is hereby given that the 41st Annual General Meeting of the members of Ardova PLC will hold on the 28th day of August 2020, 10 a.m. at the Panoramic View Hall, Civic Center, Victoria Island, Ozumba Mbadiwe, Lagos, to transact the following business. Ordinary business. 1. To consider the audited financial position with the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income for the year ended 31st December 2019. The report of the directors and the report of the auditors and statutory audit committee thereon. To re-elect Mr. Aminu Umar to the board of directors as a director, whose term expires in accordance with Articles 88 and 89 of the company's Articles of Association. To authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the external auditors for the ensuing year. To elect or re-elect the members of the Statutory Audit Committee. Special business. To fix the remuneration of the directors. 2. Amendment to the Articles of Association to consider and, if thought fit, pass the following resolution as a special resolution. That Article 98 of the Articles of Association of the company B is hereby amended to read as follows. the quorum necessary for the transaction of the business of the directors may be fixed by the directors, and unless so fixed shall be 3. A meeting of the board of directors may be held by conference call, video call, or other digital or electronic means. A director shall be entitled to participate in a board meeting by any digital or electronic means, and where a director so participates, he shall be counted for the purpose of determining whether a quorum has been constituted and for determining the outcome of any vote taken at the meeting. To consider and, if thought fit, pass the following as a resolution: that the Articles of Association of the company be and is hereby amended by introducing a new Article 99, which shall read as follows: a resolution in writing signed or approved by letter, electronic mail, telegram, or telex, or by any other electronic means whatsoever, by all the directors, or unless either the directors appointing the committee or the regulations imposed by the directors on such committee shall otherwise direct, by all the members of a committee for the time being, shall be as valid and effectual as if it had been passed at a meeting of the directors, or as the case may be. Such committee duly called and constituted. Such resolution may be contained in one document or electronic transmission, or in several documents or electronic form, email or otherwise, each signed or approved by the directors or members of the committee concerned. For the purpose of this article, the signature or electronic approval as aforesaid of an alternate director, if any, entitled to notice of meeting of directors shall suffice in place of the signature or approval of the director appointing him. Further to the amendments of the notice today, the third prayer there will be that the directors are hereby empowered to effect the above changes. Subject to the approval of the shareholders, regulators, I would humbly ask your consent that the notes to this notice be deemed as read. Thank you very much. Dated this 17th day of July 2020 by order of the board. Signed, Oladende Nelson Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nelson Cole. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for me to read my statement on pages 17 to 20 of the annual report. However, in view of the time constraint, you may wish to consider my statement as read. Thank you very much.
Honestly, I look at chairman asking time constraint, this and that. There's no time constraint. Of course, we will ask you to take it as read, but don't tell us about time constraint. Please.
Thank you. Well noted. Thank you very much. Is it taken as read? Thank you. Agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, the first item on the agenda is the presentation of the report of the directors, the consolidated statement of the financial position, with the consolidated statement of the profit or loss and other comprehensive income for the year ended December 31st, 2019, together with the reports of the auditors and the audit committee thereon. The original accounts and copies duly signed are available at this meeting for verification. May I now call on Mr. Olufemi Abegunde, the representative of Deloitte & Touch, our external auditors, to read the report of the external auditors for the year ended December 31st, 2019.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, distinguished shareholders. Olufemi Abegunde is my name. I read the independent auditor's report. To the shareholders of Adova PLC, formerly Forte Oil PLC. Mr. Chairman, permit me to read the first and the last paragraphs of the opinion. Sir. Yeah. All right, sir. Distinguished shareholders, permit me to read to your hearing the first and the last paragraphs. This document having been sent earlier. Do I have your consent? Thank you, sirs. Independent Auditor's Report to the shareholders of Adova PLC. Report on the audit of the financial statements. Opinion. We have audited the accompanying financial statements of Adova PLC, the company, which comprise the statement of the financial position as at 31 December 2019, the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity, statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of Adova PLC as at 31 December 2019, and the financial performance and statement of cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards, Companies and Land Matters Act, CAP C20 LFN 2004, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2011. Page 57, please. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. In accordance with the 6th schedule of the Companies and Land Matters Act, CAP C20 LFN 2004, we expressly state that 1. We have obtained all the information and explanation which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. 2. The company has kept proper books of account so far as appears from our examination of those books. And 3. The company's financial position and its statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of account and returns signed by myself on the 28th of February 2020 for Deloitte & Touche Chartered Accountants. Thank you, shareholders.
Thank you very much. Mr. Olufemi Abegunde. I now call on the chairman of the Statutory Audit Committee, Mr. Olushola Adeoyo, to read the report of the Audit Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, it is my honor to present the report of the Statutory Audit Committee. But if I may first, let me acknowledge the quality of work and contributions, commitment and diligence of members of the committee on whose behalf I'm actually presenting the report. I'd like to acknowledge them if it's okay with you. Other members of the board of the committee include Mrs. Aniola Durosimieti, Mr. Mohammed Aminu Umar, Mr. Safiu Okunla, Mrs. Adebisi Oluwayemisi Bakare, and Mr. Bob Ihejerika Onwughara. I now go on to the report proper. In accordance with the provision of Section 3596 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAP C20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, we, the members of the Statutory Audit Committee of Adova PLC, having carried out our statutory function under the Act, hereby confirm that the accounting and reporting policies of the company are in accordance with legal requirements and agreed ethical practices. In our opinion, the scope and planning of the audit for the year ended 31 December 2019 were adequate. The external auditor's findings on management letters and management's responses thereto were satisfactory. We have kept under review the effectiveness of the company's system of accounting and internal controls, dated the 27th day of February, 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olushola Adeoyo. The executive team and I will be pleased to answer any questions which you may have on the consolidated statement of the financial position together with the comprehensive income for the year ended December 31st, 2019, and the report of the auditors now before the meeting. If you have any questions, it will help if you could refer to the page of the annual reports and accounts to which the questions relate. I will suggest that members should be brief in their comments and restrict questions to one to afford the opportunity for others who want to have a say. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah. Mr. Boniface.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of Adova PSC, directors of our company, fellow distinguished shareholder, good morning. My name is Okezia Boniface. Mr. Chairman, we want to commend you for how far you people have piloted the affair of the company. That shows that there's a seriousness with this new board management to take the company going forward. We approved an extraordinary meeting in December to change of name from Forte to Adova PSC, and that has been effected. And today we are holding the meeting with the banner reflecting the new name and the logo. That's very, very commendable. We thank you for this timely and the action you have taken to reflect the new company. I think it's a new brand. We thank you because today, that AP here at Adova PSC have also reminded us the historical AP we used to know. So, Chairman, I want to commend you with this you have done. That clearly shows that you are not self-centered, that this company have taken back the historical name that people have known, AP, which was after the indigenization of British Petroleum, we renamed AP by the government. But today you have taken out that by that memory lane. I want to commend you for that. Mr. Chairman, if you look at the notice convened the meeting on page 12, yes, we had of dividend of 1 naira 15 kobo within last year when we had the last meetings approved, which was interim dividend. And now we have taken it as final, considering that we made a profit after tax of 3.7 billion. Mr. Chairman, I think that dividend for the benefit of shareholders, that was a sale made in divesting one of our subsidiaries we invested. We would accrue for that, you know. We would have called it special distribution. So we are also taxing you that this year, 2020, we must have a real dividend to us. Don't tell other Kuvi that just came around March, thereabout, will stop you not to pay the real dividend to us. Because Adova must continue to pay dividend. That was in the name of Forte that we had that 1 naira 15 kobo. So that's not an excuse, because it's a special dividend paid to shareholders of the accrue of the investments in the made in Emporia Power. That's it. So we are looking forward that this financial year we are in today, as it's ending, 2020, will have a dividend by this brand, Adova PSC. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, I want to also commend you on page 28, 30, 31. That's the corporate governance. Attendance of board meeting and subcommittees meetings. That clearly show that you were on time. And audit committee, they all met as the time they are appointed. I want to commend that you keep it up. There's no absentees in there. That clearly shows that you mean business to transform this company so that we can have a good dividend for this company. Mr. Chairman, that also to remind you that when we read the notice convened the meeting, acting does not inspire confidence. If you still will say we have acting managing director, acting chairman, it don't inspire confidence with investors or people doing business with you. So if the company secretary, that the time when you are employed, you give you the provision, 6 months thereabout, company adopt their own policy. And if you are judging, you can perform, you need to confirm. So I don't want to hear acting company secretary. At times this one we made mistake. I've been not given the full responsibility to discharge my duties. So go back, Mr. Chairman. Next AGM, let there no word acting. Please remove it. We don't want to hear acting. Let the person be given a substantive name. And when he failed to perform his duty, we can flog him and hold him accountable. Because they say who much is given, much is expected. So acting is not good for our own book here. I know the chairman is a listening chairman, and the board is proactive to effect that change as soon as possible. Mr. Chairman, if you look on page 106, that got to do with expenses. 8.393 billion as against 7.995 billion in previous year. Mr. Chairman, I want to also put a caution here. If you look at the table on the expenses, we have here bank charges is also going high. Transport and travel cost, 439 million as against 308. High. I know that COVID now, nobody's traveling. Every meeting now virtual. So that's the one good aspect of this COVID-19. It keep us to shutting down our traveling. But in other words, it's not good for us. Because that has reduced our social interactions as a people. When we come here today, we don't need to agree with Abel. We shake hands and tell ourselves, this hall would have been filled up to celebrate this company annual AGM. So that's one of it, and the sickness is carried. But in some cases, we must show, yes, it has given us to learn a lesson for people to conduct the way we do things. So we need to watch those areas. Transport and traveling. Mr. Chairman, we can also see professional fees and legals. We need to also watch that. They are growing. Mr. Chairman, license fees. Well, that one have also coming down. I mean, that's got to do with the NMPC, our regulators. Advertisement. Public relations. We spend 176 against 70. Mr. Chairman, I've not seen much advertisement as regard to change of our names and branding. Some of the athletes, they're still having 40. Then why do we spend such amount of money? Not affecting those new names in our athlete stations. So we need to do more. That yes, it's no longer 40. It's Adova PSC. So it can be justified. If I spend such a huge amount of money, one can understand that change of name and rebranding from the other stations outlets is justifiable. But if you have not done that and spend this whopping amount, we need explanation on that. Mr. Chairman, also I'm not seeing here rent and lease. Yes, 1.064 last year, 227 million this year. I mean, the year we're considering. What are we doing in the current, where we're residing now, where we're operating now? How far have you gone in moving back to Papa, as we have been told by you last AGM we had? How far have you gone in making sure that we move to Papa, that the work have commenced earnestly to renovate that building so that we can move there, so that this rent are curtailed? We don't spend much. Since we have properties, the one we have not sold, that are still remaining, we need to know what you have done in that aspect. Mr. Chairman, as I said earlier, I want to also rephrase on unclaimed dividend. We have about 1.2 billion on unclaimed dividend, Mr. Chairman. This is not unclaimed dividend per se. I don't want to mention names here. Mr. Chairman, we need to resolve some issues. When you inherited a liability, it is your duty to make sure that those things goes off. Because if now people will blame registrars, why are we keeping such money? Because those money have never gone to registrar for disbursement. When you declare dividend, you must give those checks to registrar to disburse. But in the case of those dividends being distributed, and somebody, one reason or another, have not gotten, we call it unclaimed. Which after the statutory requirement, it go back to the company. Mr. Chairman, please, I plead to this board, as proactive people are going to look, resolve this issue that have been lingering on for long. You can't suffer the person unjustly. It's in investments. I read here, where 4.something million shares was sold to settle some issue that arise 2009 offer. And as I can test that person never took those shares, but mistakenly a dividend was taken. And by the regulators, their own wisdom, a fine was imposed, and that have been completed paid. Those things are attracting dividend, interest, if you are not paid. And we're going to court and legal this and that, They'll tell you it will not materialize anything to the company. Who told you? This is somebody's money. Please, we cannot classify them as unclaimed. And if the person take that money today, you can see the unclaimed will come down. Because the person must have those dividend. Mr. Chairman, I am pleading passionately because I know every genesis. Let us do away with these things and move forward. After this AGM, I believe that the board will do the needful. And the person have this money, pay to him. We cannot continue to owe somebody. We must keep the tenets of corporate governance. That's I'm pleading, Mr. Chairman, so that we clear this bottlenecks and move forward and put this in behind you. Because you don't need the traction. You don't need to spend the hard money to legal lawyers filing cases. It doesn't help us. Mr. Chairman, that is my appeal. An issue of unclaimed dividend. We need to take it serious. I know the chairman, as a conservative or Republicans, I don't know whether progressive or Republicans, you will do the needful. Mr. Chairman, you look at on page 107 as well, this on personal expenses, note 982.1. Salaries allowances, I don't have grudges. Salary allowances, I know things are increasing. The naira today is more or less being devalued. Things are going haywire. People are not meeting up expectations. So when staff are being taken care of, we task them to double their energy, to be productive, to work more to bake good cake for us. gratuity and redundant cost. Mr. Chairman, yes, 611 million as again 97. There's nothing wrong. When you send people away, the gratuity, redundant cost doesn't have to be paid. That's a good corporate governance, that the company cares. Those who are work for you, those who are render job for you, you need to, if these are no longer required and they have a retirement, you pay them. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to commend you for that. Mr. Chairman, contract and manpower. We need also watch those things. It's also increasing, going higher, which will have 2.042 billion, again 1.8. Mr. Chairman, on page 40, that's on your donations. What is that? No more than this.
Mr. Boniface.
I am running off now because, Mr. Chairman, this is a COVID.
Yeah, Mr. Boniface, I would like to indulge you to.
I am running off.
Please.
I am running off.
Thank you.
Page 48, donation, Mr. Chairman. Page 48, Mr. Chairman, I'm proud of some of the donations you made there. For me, I pick a hold on those some of the donations. Page 48. Yes. 3 million naira to government of Enugu State. For what? You need to specify what this meant for. Mr. Chairman, because this government of these days, who doesn't care for its citizens, and we're donating our own money to them. We pay tax, corporate tax, educational tax, this and that tax, you know. They don't do anything to us. Look at the COVID now. People are, you know, every nation in the world, how we would rather caution defect, giving some palliative to the citizens. And we don't have such here. And we're giving to the government. It's not, that's nothing bad given to some particular state government. Maybe if you donated hospitals, equipment, institutions, schools, that's be good. Because if you are donating to state government, what did you give to them? If it's security, we don't say I will give to security, I see them in security. Because he didn't say Enugu state government. Even if my own state, you must specify what is that meant for. Mr. Chairman, you can see what that's one here, except Baby's home you gave to diesel supply. There's no other one to give to less privileged. All this donation to institutions, journalists, association of this, guild of editors, this and Mr. Chairman, Haba. So look at these donations. Let it reflect to the more poor masses, the blind, the particular homes, SOS village. Give it to them. It's not much. 12 million is a good amount of money. But that of state, build some library in the schools over there, that state. We'll commend you. Give borehole to the state over there. We'll commend you. But don't tell you give state government. If it's security, we'll commend you. So having said that, Mr. Chairman, I think we're moving forward. And I pray that come next year, by this time, things will be better for us. And we'll clap for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Permit me, I think we'll take all the questions, consolidate them, and
yes, okay.
answer. Yes.
That's very good.
But
Mr. Chairman,
I'll crave intentions to be more
you are
previous.
becoming a guru. I remember your first day. I said, no, this chairman will learn fast. And it's a testament. I want to commend you, sir. The chairman of the board of Andova PLC.
It's Adova PLC.
Adova PLC.
Not, yes.
Okay. My name is Patrick Ajudua. I said, good morning, sirs and ma. Mr. Chairman, first is the fact that I want to really commend you for the proactiveness in what I'm seeing in your decision to relocate the office because of the cost. And when you check that page 105, you equally attest to it that over 1 billion was being paid And then now it's went down to 227. So we'll be looking forward to a more reduction in the course of the year. We are in a very difficult time, Mr. Chairman. And of course, we must ensure that cost effectiveness is our watchdog. If you remember, Mr. Chairman, during the COVID time that we are in, there was no movement, there was restriction at a point in time. So I'm sure it also will tell on our sales. So going forward, Mr. Chairman, I'll be asking you, what is the business continuity plan in this post-COVID era? It's very important. Mr. Chairman, I will equally want to call on the government to ensure a full deregulation of the downstream sector. It is very germane to us, and I said that during our AGM and the EGM, that clearly that is the way forward. It will allow for local competition and then a free market determination of the pump price, which of course will attract investors to the sector. On page 19, Mr. Chairman, what is the state of the plan to establish a solar and a waste-to-energy conversion? I'll be looking forward to your answer because those are your visions. And people like us look at business diversifications and where you earn money. Also, is the issue of liquefied petroleum gas kit to drive distribution of clean energy. So we're looking forward to your answer in this direction. Mr. Chairman, on page 43, they have mentioned the issue of the interim dividend. Yes, but to me, Mr. Chairman, we did not do something for us for the half year you take over. It means then that for this year we are looking at, Mr. Chairman, you are going to pay us something from the half year you take over and what we are going to pay for 2020. Because the dividend that was declared was before you take over. That was on the 21st of June. So we'll be looking forward to that. But my question is, have you established a dividend policy? Because to us, we want to know what the mindset of the board in terms of dividend payment. Are we looking at 50% of the earning per share? Or are we looking at 20%? So I should be able to do some kind of projections. Mr. Chairman, on page 105 is where we have the revenue segmentations. And much as I asked you on the issue of solar, Mr. Chairman, you will discover that on that same page, from 141 million fell to 39 million. This morning, I was able to watch the TV and I saw the companies, I've forgotten his name, that are involved in solar, and they are making it, really. We shouldn't shy away. I think it will post, a kind of more competition for us to enter into that arena and make headway. The same page 105, on the other income, I want to comment the disposal of those subsidiaries and money realized. Really, that has helped us in our other income. I'm sure the CFO will agree with me, realizing over 2.67 billion. If not, it would have been a different story. My brother have talked about the expenses heading on page 106, but I would like you to please look at those areas who you can go down with, particularly the professional fees. It is still very, 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 very much on the high side. From 362 million, still being retained at 341 million. Probably, maybe, you'll be giving me the reason why this is on the high side. And for me to preempt you, Mr. Chairman, is the fact that one of those reasons are what I can see on page 131. Mr. Chairman, care must be taken, because if we don't look at that, we will be expending so much. And page 131, the MD, you will see that really it's not really a good story when you have escalating value for your claims and litigations, pending litigations. Though the solicitor have advised that we shouldn't take note of it, but that figure is scary. From 116 million to 511 million. So we need to watch some of these things once it comes nearer us. And equally, they have talked about promo and adverts. Your lubricants there is need for you to push it more into the market. A company just finished their annual general meeting in the same sector with you. The lubricant account for over 50% of their revenue. So it's a challenge to you, Mr. Chairman, that we need to push more of our lubricant. Let us decide to do away with some of them and start using your own lubricant. So, but for that to happen, you have to create awareness. You have to create the market. And you have to push your retail outlet into it. Mr. Chairman, much of that also has to do with page 107, which there is need for us to look at our finance cost. The net finance cost is not that appreciative, but we have to watch it. When you look at it, Mr. Chairman, you will understand what I'm really saying. In line with that is the need for us to also look at our receivables and impairment on page 115. Yes, we need funds. Yes, we need money. Otherwise, we'll be running to the bank every time. But there is need for us to be more aggressive on our receivable collection. And talking about that, Mr. Chairman, which has to do with other receivable, I'll be asking you, and I asked this question in the morning when I came in, what is your relationship with BSG Resources Limited? On page 115. I saw that, yes, we realized 7.4 billion the previous year, 2018, but nothing yet. What is your relationship? I need some detailed explanation as to the link. Because I've not seen whether it's a disposable subsidiary or what, but really what happens there? And Mr. Chairman, while we are doing that also, is the need to check our payable. Our payable on page 125 grew from 26 billion to 22 billion. We have to watch it. Mr. Chairman, I'll be asking you, what are you doing in respect of dollar-denominated contracts? The danger there, Mr. Chairman, if you realize, the value of Naira now is going for 500 to a Naira. So if we are not careful, what are we doing to hedge against fluctuation in foreign currencies? Because really, that is a disturbing effect. Much as it is, I have seen your second quarter report, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it's a very good result, but it is being affected also by the COVID issue. This COVID-related result is caused by a fall in demand triggered by restriction to movement across the land and airways. My recommendation, Mr. Chairman, because I know you have picked your Bible, is that there is need for cost efficiency across all your product line. So we are not here only to tell you about what you have said. We are here to also tell you that there is the need for that across your product line. If you look at your second quarter, fuel segment gross margin improved. Equally, Mr. Chairman, is the issue of your lubricant. So we need to consolidate that. On a final note, Mr. Chairman, is the issue of forest subsidy receivable. The forest subsidy receivable still stood at 3.9 billion. Is there any collection with regard to that? I want to tell you, Mr. Chairman, that as shareholders of the company, we are far interested in ensuring your success. And in doing that, Mr. Chairman, look at those questions we are raised, look at the solutions we are projected to you, and I'm very much sure that the future is very bright. God willing, with a prudent management that you have, we expect that shareholders are going to smile at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Wosu. I'm very sure, Mr. Wosu, you will even be more brief. Yes.
Chairman of Adova PLC, directors of Adova PLC, distinguished shareholders, those present and those we are representing, and all the parties here, including our representative on the audit committee. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to congratulate you for this meeting.
Thank you.
When you came to greet me here, I told you, I said, look at your hair. It has turned to the white you are wearing. And you said, it's the job you people gave me. Definitely, if you are running a PLC, you must be prepared for that. And I pray that you don't start dyeing your hair because you are going to belong on this job. Shola, you didn't pay dividend. Adova did not pay dividend. I hope you are not the influential party to it. Good. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to start from where one of my brothers stopped. And I want to praise the management for reducing the finance costs from 2 billion to 270. And that's on page 107. It is always good for us to appreciate people where we need to appreciate and bulala them where we need to bulala them so that it will be well balanced. The team has done a good job in respect of ensuring the financial engineering of the company. Mr. Chairman, I also want to say something on some of the areas that they have said something, and that's on page 105, which has the segments. Now, we have a new business there, which the immediate last speaker has said about. We were able to make 18.4 billion naira. But what I want us to look at, that's the liquefied petroleum gas. We spend more money in the sales than the turnover. We say cost of sales here is 18.4, and revenue from it is 17.4. I want to see this as part of introductory expenses in that line. But we have to be very careful. So it should not continue like that, otherwise it will be building up deficit, which will definitely affect the business. So I want us to look at that. And also, the solar system. If you also see that, that's not an introductory thing. We have been on it before. In 2018, we made cost of sales was 119, while the revenue was 141. That makes a lot of sense for the shareholders. So we have to quickly correct those things so that we don't start building up the whole thing. I actually want to find out, because note 85 did not tell me actually the property that was sold that gave us 2.67. So it's always better for us to clearly spell out. You have some you have some financial movement there, and I want us to single out what gave us that. If you also look at the investment sold, you will see some of them made loss, brought out loss, and only one brought us value. And I also want to ask the chairman, why are we under sales and purchase issue? Is there any time, are we saying that when they also want to dispose, that they should contact us first? So it is better for us to understand that. Mr. Chairman, I don't want to talk too much on this issue because I know something has been sent to you about the whole account. But again, the fact of unclaimed dividend, I want you to recall that I came to your office to discuss this issue with you, that we have to do away with those things hanging on us. And up till now, I have, you know, they say elder speaks in parable. I'm sure Mr. Chairman understands what I am talking about. We're talking about outstanding issues. Boniface threw the thing open beam. But for me, as an elder, I have to know how to discuss issues. And I came to you. This thing is lingering too much, and it is time that we settle this issue, and move on with life. Mr. Chairman, Shola and Ms. Seti, you know about it. You know about it. There is nothing like tete-a-tete on your side there where you know about these things. So, Mr. Chairman, I saw a picture, a beautiful picture in this annual report. And it would be nice for you to decode what that's on page 8. On page 8. Mr. Chairman, because it's in a public property document, so there is need to decode it. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I also want to say that shareholders will speak on issues that concerns us all the time. Sometimes I may speak on an issue that you will feel embarrassed, but nobody sent me. It is me who choose to speak that way. I have always been telling my colleagues that there is a way you speak, it will look as if somebody sent you. But no, it's always something from the mind, the way things should be. And the way I speak, Mr. Chairman, I am clocking my 50 years in capital market. I speak in a way that it will not derive any punishment. That's the way I speak. But what Boniface said, Boniface is younger, and his blood is still very, very hot. And he can speak the way he likes. What he has said during the course of his talk is not being sent by anybody. And I want you to take it that it is shareholders' view that you have had about what he spoke about a personality on the board or that serves the board. So that's our wish. We want something that anybody that takes this annual report will see everything and think positively about it. I will soon round up because these people. Mr. Chairman, let's go to page 128. Page 128 is talking about receivables. That's the item I want to pick out from there. Mr. Chairman, other receivables, the last item there, more than 12 months, 7 billion naira. Moshood, am I right? 7 billion naira. That's a lot of money. and is incurring impairment as we go on. What are we doing about this? So what are we doing about this? I'm a bit comfortable with 0 to 2 months and all this and that. That's before the next annual report, something. But this is 1 year, and it's affecting us seriously. If you look at the impairment that have been taken, 1.143 billion. And before you know it, impairment would have eaten up everything. Even though, after impairment, when we recover, we write back. But the fact remains that as it affects this account today, it has reduced the profit of the account. So it's just very important, Mr. Chairman, that you must do something with the management about it. Mr. Chairman, somebody mentioned something that was very, very dear to my heart. And for the benefit of repeating, I will do that. The stations are still bearing effort. I know it's a lot of money to change these things. But we should start somewhere. We shouldn't wait to a period where midnight we're changing everything. We should start somewhere because it's a lot of money. I was actually thinking that there's a station by Bagada, very mighty thing. I thought it was ours until they unveiled it because he stole our color. When they unveiled it, I now saw that it's not ours. Mr. Chairman, let's do everything possible to start off with our name. And that God will bless and give us future on it. Mr. Chairman, I think so far I have made my point. And may God enrich the chairman, the board, and the staff to produce better cake where shareholders will be happy to partake from. COVID-19 or no COVID-19, we shall exist. My major problem here is that your regulators are also your competitors. That is very painful because it is whatever is left from them they give to you.
Absolutely.
You cannot import. They have special rate. You do not have special rate. So I think we should be more concerned with that. You can see the amount of energy, resources they put into advert on their lob. When you watch it, oh my God. And that is why they are making losses. Because it's people's money. They don't care about it. So all of you should come together and continue to beg the wicked ones to allow everybody to exist on a parallel ground. There are certain products that the majority of the masses needs that you cannot import. And if they don't give you, of course they will not give you. They will give to people that will go and pay something into a dedicated account given to them. So our survival will continue to be in the hands of God. So, but I think they should come together and find a way through it. Mr. Chairman, may your white hair be shining. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to represent thousands of shareholders who are unable to attend this meeting, and they are watching us. Please ensure that when you are going to pay dividend, you pay a dividend that will be a palliative to people. Finally, Mr. Chairman, are we entitled to any financial palliative from Central Bank? Because they are now talking of giving palliative to this, giving palliative to that, even though majority of them have not been able to assess it. But then it is better for us to know so that our lefty we'll be able to pursue it. Do you know our lefty? Do you know our lefty? You are looking towards the left again. Our left-hand writer will be able to pursue it. Olumide, you are a left-hand. God bless all of us.
Thank you. I was wondering because we have two lefties here. Thank you very much, Mr. Omoso. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the questions and the advice, because I realized there was about 70% of admonition and advice and 30% of questions. For me, the advice is well taken, and it's coming from the experience and wisdom and that you've had all these years. We're very appreciative. I think I'll ask the management to answer those questions. Olumide.
Distinguished shareholders, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I will. Sitting down would be easier, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Distinguished shareholders. I don't have direct line to heaven, sir. Shareholders, the questions as we receive them, I think fall into several buckets. The first bucket, which is the bucket that I will address, around things to do with the business's operating strategy, commercial matters, and matters that relate to how we market our products and services. I think the one of the first questions I need to address really is around the numbers around the solar business. I think Samuels, who had observed that in 2018 we had made 141 million we've done 141 million in revenue, and as at the year end in 2019 we had only showed 39 million on the same business line. Before I address the detail of the numbers, I would just like to provide some context around our overall strategy in the renewable space. I also noticed that the honorable gentleman over here also mentioned it. In the renewable space, we are looking to, we also believe it's the future. We believe that the energy transition from hydrocarbons to more renewable sources is real. The net effect of us continuing to use both hydrocarbons and biomasses to provide energy, taking a very grave effect on not just the environment but people's health as well. So we see this opportunity to go into both renewables and low carbon energy as LPG as very important. For renewables, the system we had in place that was being sold and marketed as a product called FO Solar, which is a 1.5 kVA device that cost about 500 to 600,000 naira. We found that this product, the SHS product, Solar Home System product, has a very, it's a saturated market. And we believe that at 141 million in revenue, that was really the height of that market. Our business model, which is to retail, primarily to retail fuels to residential and commercial users, means that people expect us to be able to sell them things, energy, in manageable and affordable sizes. Very few people come into a filling station to buy a 600,000 naira, effectively solar generator. And we've seen this. So what we are doing right now, what you're seeing that looks like a decline in number, is a very deliberate sunsetting of that solution that was not fit for our business model. And what we're doing in its place is that we're going to go after two areas in the renewable space. The first area we're going to go into is we're going into, no need to go into, thank you. Thank you, so that's okay, thank you. So it looks like it's very deliberate. The reduction you see is very deliberate. And actually, to Sanwo-Osu's point, and to answer your question, there was some detail that you want. And I was going to try to high level it, but I think I would rather couch it under, there is a lot of first mover advantage to be had by us maintaining some confidentiality over what we intend to do in those areas. But be rest assured that we believe in the energy transition. We believe that petrol and hydrocarbons have a time to live as a fuel. And that time to live, whether we like it or not in Nigeria, will come upon us. Because eventually GM, Mercedes, and all those people who make cars will stop. They will just stop making petrol-powered cars. And we will not have much of a say in it. Exactly. So it's in our interest that we do that. So that is on strategy. We're very focused on the renewables, and the dip in number is really to allow us to pivot and reorient for something that we believe will address a much larger chunk of the market and will be much more profitable for the business in the long run. There were some questions on donations that I think it's important to address fairly quickly. From about July 2019, as a company, we decided that our CSR strategy would really needed to be better focused. We have chosen to focus on three areas. We are identifying at the top level as the 3 E's: energy, entrepreneurship, and education. So the focus you see on there is really to channel around those areas. But to the very specific question about the donation made to the Enugu state, this was done before June 21 last year, but we understand and are aligned with the fact that the donation was made to the state government to support some initiatives that they were working on, which aligned with what we were doing, and we felt that it was a wise business decision to make that donation at the time. But the point you make around providing clarity, better clarity, so that it's not as vague and open to further suggestions is well taken, sir. There is a very good discussion point, I believe, around deregulation. The efforts have not stopped, sir. You are absolutely right when you say that the biggest challenge that the industry faces today is the fact that our regulator is also our primary competitor. And that is nowhere, it's not evident anywhere as much as when we go to the pump prices today. And we see that our regulator is able to sell at a price that's much lower than anything that we can ever afford to. Their cost profile is different, their access to FX is different, and their business model is different. So we as a company, under the auspices of the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, continue to be a force for driving this change in orientation within the industry. And we're confident that in time, and we're already starting to see the dismantling. It's slow, but we're already starting to see. The first came the proclamation. Next came some of the actions that backed that proclamation up. We're still a far cry from decoupling and getting to a place where we have full deregulation. But I'm not a gambling man, but I'm a praying man. So my prayer is that we are definitely headed in the right direction. And all being well, by the end of this year, we should be in a place where we're looking at a completely different landscape in the downstream sector. There was a very good question, and I think very germane, around business continuity planning. It's absolutely critical, sir. One of the great sources of pride for us this year, so we're looking at last year's numbers, but I think the reference point I have is the activities of this year. We were one of the first companies to institute remote working, even before Lagos State did. And that was because we took a very early view on our business continuity plan. We modeled some scenarios that said, look, things could go one of three ways. It could be okay, it could be medium case bad, or it could be horrible. we prepared and rehearsed for each of those scenarios. We have a clear pandemic response plan that is now baked into our business continuity plan, such that if we ever have, heaven forbid, a repeat of this or any other wide area pandemic, we are institutionally geared, and we have a codified plan that will allow us to see it through. So some of the uptake, Mr. Boniface, you pointed out that we had diminished numbers in volumes, but the margin was up. That really is a consequence of two things: some entrepreneurial moves that we made up front, but also because we had a good business resilience plan in operation. Then there is at the top level, there's the matter of unpaid dividends. And I mean, I think as far as dog whistles go, the comments could not be, the whistle could not be louder. Even humans were hearing that whistle. The matter, to call it the name, I'm sure, is really around the Osasunde shares. As you and everybody is aware, this is really a long-standing issue. But I can assure you that as a board and as a management team, this is one area that is, I mean, for us, we see it as an inherited albatross. And we are very eager and very keen and very motivated to see a mutually beneficial resolution to it. Because the matter is tied up in has a few litigious dimensions to it, there's only so much I am able to say here, but rest assured that this matter remains front and center to us as a management team under the direction of the board led by the chairman, and we will work assiduously to make sure that we hit an amiable resolution for all parties involved. What else have I missed here? The commendations around the performance are well received, sir. Okay, I mean, and then I think there was something around the rebranding, and this is a very big piece of work because actually, you're right, sir, we have achieved, we're also proud of where we have gotten to in terms of getting the brand to convert, and the fact that we have a brand, or at least a set of letters, AP, that is very familiar to people, and we actually is very useful, and we have some brand advantage there. Our plans for the rebranding are very well in motion now. The intent is to convert 50 stations between now and the balance of the year. COVID set us back a little bit, but the plan is to convert 50 stations between now and the end of the year into fully working, fully branded Adova PLC stations that will meet our newly established minimum guidelines. So each station category has a minimum set of requirements. We will look to improve the quality of the stations themselves. We are working to make sure that the look and feel is one that attracts people, because we have found that actually people come to stations not just because of the value they get, but also because they like what the station feels like. So we're working very hard to make sure that 50 of those stations, including 4 brand new flagship stations, 4 brand new flagship stations will be added to the portfolio. The balance of those stations, the balance of the stations within our network will be rolled out all through the majority of 2021. So we assure you, we do not take the brand conversion lightly, and all the efforts we'll make, we will start to see some of these new brands coming up across neighborhoods that I hope are familiar to everyone here. So with I will rest there. There might be some residuals that I will consolidate and pick up. But in the meantime, I would like to invite our CFO, Mr. Moshood Olajide, to come through and address one or two of the... I stand corrected, sir. Mr. Chairman, I will rest here. I have... thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adio. Mr. Adio. Mr. Olajide, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. I will just go through some of the questions that I've come across. I think I can start with the question on receivables impairment, specifically in respect to the BSG the BSG balance. There was a specific question as to what the relationship of the company is with BSG. Currently, the company has no relationship with BSG. It used to be a related party to the former majority shareholder of the company. And as you will see, sir, there is no balance due from BSG to the company this year. The reason why you're still seeing BSG in our financial statements is because we're required to carry comparative figures. So you will see last year there was a balance, this year there is no balance, it's nil. And I can just quickly refer you to page 116 of the audited document. The other question, sir, is with respect to the payable and the long-standing, the receivable, the long-standing receivable dating over 12 months. So the bulk of the figure here, sir, is relating to the subsidy payments due from the government. As you would see, sir, from 2018 to 2019, this has moved from about 20 billion to 6 billion. So more than 65% of that amount has been paid and received by the company. Furthermore, just to provide a bit of an update, to date, most of this amount has now been settled by the government. They issued us some 3-year promissory notes, 3 to 4 year promissory notes. So the summary for that question, sir, is that there's no significant risk to be worried about with respect to that balance. There was a question around note 8.5, which is on page 106, around disposals. So this was the disposal relating to the subsidiaries, Forte Upstream Services Limited and Amperion Limited, which is the Amperion Power Distribution Company Limited, which is the company that bought Geregu Power. So these notes in 8.5 is just explaining the disposal that happened. So it wasn't a physical asset that was disposed, it was shares in those companies that was disposed that brought the 2.6 billion balance. There was a question around foreign exchange risk. So if I might just direct you to notes. Yes, I'm just trying to. It's in the notes to the financial statement, a robust disclosure around how we manage our foreign exchange exposure as a company. What we try to do most of the time is to match our foreign exchange payable to our foreign exchange receivable to ensure that all transactions we cover the potential foreign exchange risk that may arise. There was a question about loss on LPG. That loss, I think you actually answered the question in the course of asking the question. It's our initial foray into that business, reactivation of that business more or less. So some of those costs are the new costs. So I think mostly I've answered most of the questions that were asked, if not all.
Personnel costs? The
litigation. Okay. Oh, the admin expenses. So generally, sir, if you look at our admin expenses, just to make a very, very broad point, the increase in our admin expenses between the previous year and the 2019 year is about 400 million. This is compared to about 40 billion increase in revenue. As you increase your revenue, your administrative expenses will go up. So there's really there's really not so much you can do about that. And litigation. So we have a very, very robust framework internally to manage our litigation risk. We're a publicly listed company, so there's a bullseye target on us. Anytime anybody feels like doing something, taking anybody to court, we're publicly listed company are the easiest target. But we are managing our risk by making sure that our contractual frameworks are tight. We get legal advice as we're required to, and we make sure that we follow all our contracts. We honor all our contracts and obey all obligations that we have on ourselves. That's how we manage our litigation risk mainly. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our CEO, I think you also need to further update on the last, on the PSL assets.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the last board meeting, at the last AGM, we received an approval from the shareholders at the 40th AGM, held on the 3rd of September 2019, to acquire some selected downstream assets from Prudent Energy and Services Limited. Dear shareholders, it is with great pleasure that I am pleased to advise that the transaction wrapped up completely, and by as I speak here today, we have completed all sales transactions and have acquired assets which include but are not limited to 43 trucks, 12 LPG assets, and 8 retail outlets. Those transactions are fully closed and the assets are fully onboarded in the Adova PLC system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, shareholders. There be no further comments on, and there be no further comments, and the consolidated statement of financial position and comprehensive income for the year 2019 having been presented, and members having made comments and notations, may I call on a member to move a motion that the audited accounts for 31st December 2019. The picture. Okay, I think the picture is just imagination of of the artists and the graphics, and it could be a dream. So, there's nothing to it. No problem. So, shareholders' funds will not be used to build such buildings that will not bring any money. So, don't worry about that. So, I'd like to. Okay, so I call on a member to move a motion that the audited accounts, to order, please. Audited accounts for the year ended 31st December 2019 has been duly presented and received by members. I wait for members to so move. Mr. Boniface, thank you.
Chairman, you're moving now. Okay. Chairman, I move the motion that account be received. Okay, Mr. Boniface.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I support the motion. Patrick Ajuda.
Thank you, Mr. Ajuda. Thank you. I declare the resolution carried. Re-election of director. May I now call upon the acting company secretary to read out the name of the directors subject for re-election.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, the director subject to re-election is Mr. Aminu Umar. In accordance with Article 88 and 89 of the Articles of Association of the company, Mr. Mohammed Aminu Umar will retire by rotation from the Board of Directors at this annual general meeting, and being eligible, offers himself for re-election.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. I now propose that Mr. Mohammed Aminu Umar, a director retiring and being eligible, offering himself for election, be and is hereby re-elected as the director of the company. I so move. May I have...
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second the motion as ordered by Boniface Opes. I move.
Mr. Onwosu, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Umar. Thank you.
Meeting, the motion has been moved and been seconded. They shall have to come in now.
Okay. So may I invite? That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. May I now invite registrars to take us through the voting exercise on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, the voting process at this point has been agreed to be done by poll. Distinguished shareholders, the voting parts which you were earlier given will now be used for voting on the respective resolution to be read out by the chairman. For purposes of voting, shareholders are restricted to the buttons labeled numbers 1 and 2 on the pad. Numbers 1 and 2 on the pad only. Button number 1 represents yes or in favor of a resolution, while button number 2 represents no or against a resolution. In order to vote, shareholders are to press the appropriate buttons which represent their intention. Shareholders have 20 seconds to cast their votes once they are called upon to vote. The result of the voting exercise will be displayed on the digital screen in real time, while the analysis will be generated immediately for members' view. So I will call on members immediately upon the resolution is displayed to please cast their vote. Can we have the display? Okay, so members can now vote on the resolution to consider the audited financial position. No, that's not what we're voting. Second resolution, to elect Mr. Aminu Umar to the Board of Directors as a director, whose term expires in accordance with Articles 88 and 89 of the company's Articles of Association. So members can now vote. Okay, so we have all shareholders voting in favor of the resolution. So, Mr. Chairman, we have 100% return by members in favor of the resolution.
Thank you very much. We now declare Mr. Mohammed Umar duly elected and re-elected as a member of the Board of Directors. Thank you very much. Appointment and remuneration of auditors. The next business on the agenda is to declare and fix the remuneration of the auditors in accordance with Section 361, subsection 1B of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2004. I propose that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the external auditors for the year ending December 31st, 2020. May I have a shareholder second this?
Chairman, I rise to second that motion. Okay, Zia Boniface.
Thank you, Mr. Boniface. May I invite the registrar to give us direction on voting?
Okay, so members can now cast their votes. Okay. Mr. Chairman, we have all shareholders present voting in favor of the resolution. We have 100% return in favor of the resolution.
Thank you very much, Registrar. I declare the resolution carried. The next item is the election of members of the Statutory Audit Committee. Pursuant to Section 359, subsection 3 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2004, an audit committee is required to be established by every company. Under subsection 4, the committee shall consist of an equal number of directors and representatives of the shareholders, subject to a maximum of 6 members, and shall examine the auditor's report and make recommendations to the annual general meeting under subsection 5. Any member may nominate a shareholder as a member of the Statutory Audit Committee by giving notice of such nomination to the Secretary of the company at least 21 days before the AGM. The committee is not entitled to remuneration and shall be subject to re-election annually. For the period ended December 31st, 2019, the following persons served as shareholders' representative: Mr. Job Omugara, Mrs. Adebisi Bakare, and Mr. Safiu Okunla, while Mr. Olushola Adeyo, Mrs. Anyola Durosmeti, and Mr. Mohammed Aminu Umar represented the board on the audit committee of the company. I now call on the acting company secretary to read the nominations from the shareholders which have been received.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In all, we received 38 nominations for the position, for the office, for the statutory audit committee. Out of the 38, we had about 12 that were invalid, while we have now received withdrawals from the remaining nominees, leaving 3 nominees. And presently, these 3 nominees remain Mr. Safiu Okunla, Mrs. Adebisi Bakari, and Mr. Job Omugara. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Being the sole nominees and having been nominated for re-election and having no contenders, be an
Mr. Chairman, there have no election, so we'll run through. There have no election. What they did not tell us now the director's part. They take it down and we'll move the motion, and that's all. But I want to also appeal, Mr. Chairman, that the chairman of the statutory audit committee should not reside on the directors. We have eminent people from shareholder who are qualified in this audit committee. Job Omugara, Bishop Bakari, and they can choose among them and elect chairman. So let it be the last this meeting that will have a director as chairman of the committee. That must be Mr. Chairman, please.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Boniface is right to say that the chairmanship of the audit committee should belong to shareholders. But the major thing is that those shareholders, they never force the chairman on them. They agreed to the election of the chairman. So, definitely, they should be bold enough to stand firm on certain issues. Shola will not impose himself, you know. So, but the point I want to make now is that we must be very careful. The troubled karma, which the government just brought out, is saying something else from the composition that we all know. The karma is saying 2 directors, 3 shareholders. So because it's a troubled karma, nobody knows when the trouble will be off this karma. So we can as well do those things just in projection, that if the karma is suspended, the current application which we are using 3.3 remains. But if the karma succeeds, it means you will only nominate 2 directors to the audit committee. So that's the point I want to make.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oso. We have a democratic system of running. There's no imposition. Thank you. The registrar have confirmed that the names of the nominees and nominators are included in the share register and are bona fide members of the company. The nominees up for election in the statutory audit committees are therefore 3. Yeah, on the show of hands. Okay. Okay. So, and I propose that Mr. Job Omugara, Mrs. Adebisi Bakari, and Mr. Sofiu Okunla, being the sole nominees and having been nominated for election and having no contenders, be and are hereby re-elected as members of the Statutory Audit Committee. That okay. Okay, will a shareholder please second the resolution? So the directors are Mr. Aminu Umar, Mrs. Durusimieti, Aniola Durusimieti, and Mr. Olushola Adeyo. Okay. What? Page. Yeah, here. This is 17. So we need a seconder, please.
My name is Patrick Ajudo. I rise to second the motion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. By show of hands, please. Yes, there's no hand. Those in favor? Thank you. No. Thank you very much. I hereby declare that the following. I hereby declare that the following shareholders' representatives are elected and shall serve on the audit committee for the year ended December 2020. Mr. Job Omugara, Mrs. Adebisi Bakari, Mr. Sofiu Okunla, while the following directors will serve on the committee are Mr. Olushola Adeyo, Mrs. Aniola Durusimieti, and Mr. Mohammed Amin Omar. Special business. Remuneration of directors. The next item on the agenda is to declare and fix the remuneration of directors. Section 267, subsection 1 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2004 stipulates that the remunerations of the directors shall be determined by the company in a general meeting. I now propose that the fees payable to non-executive directors be set as 600,000 naira and the sum of 800,000 for the chairman per annum. Will a shareholder please second this motion? Okay. Okay.
Special business. Remuneration of directors. The next item on the agenda is to declare and fix the remuneration of the directors. Under Section 267 sub 1 of the Companies and Allied Matter Act 2004 stipulates that the remuneration of the directors shall be determined by the company in a general meeting. I now propose that the fees payable to the non-executive directors be set at the sum of 600,000 naira and the sum of 800,000 naira for the chairman per annum. Will a shareholder please second the resolution? Okay. May I now invite the registrars to take us through the voting exercise on the resolution?
On the special resolution to fix the remuneration of directors, as read out, members are now invited to cast their votes. Okay. All members voted in favor of the resolution. Mr. Chairman, I wish to confirm that members holding over 75% of the company's shares voted in favor of the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Okonkwo. I declare the resolution carried.
Thank you. Amendments of the Articles of Association. The next business of the day is to consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolutions as special resolution of the company. A, that Article 98 of the Articles of Association of the company be and is hereby amended to read as follows. The quorum necessary for the transaction of the business of the directors may be fixed by the directors, and unless so fixed shall be 3. A meeting of the board of directors may be held by conference call, video call, or other digital or electronic means. A director shall be entitled to participate in a board meeting by any digital or electronic means, and where a director so participates, he shall be counted for the purpose of determining whether a quorum had been constituted and for determining the outcome of any vote taken at the meeting. I hereby propose that Article 98 of the Articles of Association be amended as aforementioned. Will the shareholder please second this resolution?
It's co-joint. Okay. And just one resolution will carry the whole thing. Do you understand, Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
They are co-joined, A and B.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So
I see. All right.
Maybe
I should just read all through then.
No, don't bother yourself. We have it here. So I don't know who is to move. Me. Okay. Mr. Chairman, there is just no problem, but because we have been doing it very orderly, and I don't want to be the one to, I only brought out, you know.
Mr. Chairman, I hereby second the motion. Okay,
thank you, Mr. Boniface. Thank you. May I now invite the registrar to take us through the voting exercise on this resolution, please? On the 3 resolutions. There's a third one.
Okay. On the resolution for amendment of the co-joint resolution for the amendment of Article 98 of the Articles of Association of the company, I hereby invite the distinguished shareholders present to vote. Okay, Mr. Chairman, the combined result of all proxies members voting by person and in proxy reveals that we have 100% return, which is in excess of 75% of the shareholders of the company.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen. All right. You still want to? Okay. All right. It's joint. There's one. Yes, it's co-joint. Yes. Thank you very much. I think we'll be guided by the regulators. It's fine that it's co-joint. All right. Thank you very much. So it's duly carried. Thank you. In drawing this meeting to a close, I first of all want to thank our regulators for coming and thank them for the good work, their guidance, and I want to say we're very grateful. And also to thank our shareholders and everyone here present. We are very grateful for your attendance, and we pray God Almighty will see us through the coming years and see us through all this pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal business of our annual general meeting. May I ask Mr. Okunla to give us closing prayers, please? I think the pandemic has prevented us from. But I think the item 7 will take away without resolution, sir.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Almighty Allah, we give Almighty Allah the glory for seeing us through this special annual general meeting, which has been necessitated by the ravaging COVID-19. We thank God for preserving us and for guiding us throughout the meeting, and we thank Him for making all our efforts very successful. And as we shall be dispersing to our various destinations, we pray that God will continue to move this company forward more than we anticipate. And by His grace, by the time we meet next year, I think we will all be happier and be more grateful to Almighty Allah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. We pray for Johnny Mercies.
Thank you very much.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. National anthem, please.